Hi there, my name is Dr. Angela Eno, and this is Mindfulness. This is a workshop that's being provided for USU Education Week by myself, Dr. Angela Eno. I am a psychologist at CAPS at USU, which stands for Counseling Psychological Services. And my particular position is that I am the embedded psychologist for the College of Education and Human Services. So I've been asked to provide this workshop by Chloe Christopher, the current senator for the College of Education and Human Services. A quick note, this workshop is not intended as a substitute for mental health care. If you or someone you know is struggling with their mental health, please do seek out a qualified therapist. So mindfulness is really important for students, and the images depicted here on this slide really kind of capture why that is. US students are trying to balance so many different things. It's not just good grades, a social life, and getting enough sleep. It's all the extracurricular activities, see the building that you're trying to do, the homework, any hobbies you might have, trying to take care of your fitness, having a love life. There's so much that's going on that if you aren't being mindful about the way that you're taking care of yourself, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. And as the graphic here kind of jokes, you attempt to do everything, get so overwhelmed with stress that you end up deciding to do none of it and just lay in bed and, binge Netflix or stay on your social media all day. Really and truly, mindfulness is super important. One of the most important things about mindfulness, and one of the great things about mindfulness, is that it gives us the ability to respond to the things that are happening in our lives rather than just react. So when we're moving through our days in a way that is not mindful, something happens, maybe it's something that stresses us out or makes us angry or sad, and we have this, body sensation that arises. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's sadness, maybe it's anger, and we react out of that place when we're not mindful. But having the ability to be mindful means that we can put a little bit of a space in between that stimulus and our response. We get to respond rather than react. We have some choice in the way that we respond to things that happen in our lives. And it's because we have increased awareness about what's going on around us, what's going on inside of us, and what are our intentions and our goals. Mindfulness also has a lot of other added benefits, and so I'd like to talk about some of those. So first off, mindfulness decreases anxiety and depression. Having a regular mindfulness practice can improve your pain management. It definitely can improve your relationships as you're less reactive and more intentional in the way you interact with others. It improves concentration, decreases stress, boosts the immune system, and enhances your memory. So there are all kinds of benefits to mindfulness that students in particular really can really benefit from. Finally, mindfulness increases creativity. So let's talk about some mindfulness exercises. So I'll talk in terms of some very specific exercises, but I'll also talk about just having a more mindful approach to anything that you do, really. So Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Tibetan Buddhist monk and kind of an expert in the area of mindfulness, has said that mindfulness doesn't have to be any particular practice. Sometimes we think it has to be a certain type of meditation or something specific that we have to do. While those things are great, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. He recommends starting your mindfulness practice by just trying to focus on one thing at a time. Whatever it is you're doing, you do that one thing, and you don't think about everything else that you could think about and everything else that's going on in your life. You just think about the one thing that you're doing. So Thich Nhat Hanh says, when you're washing your dishes, wash your dishes. When you're tying your shoes, tie your shoes. One of the things that I've noticed in my own life is that my dogs are particularly good at doing this. So when we're getting ready to get in the car and go somewhere, that's the greatest thing that ever happened. When we get out of the car, that's still the greatest thing that ever happened. When we get back in the car to go home, it's the greatest thing that ever happened. They're all in the moment. Dogs are great teachers of mindfulness. So if you have a dog or you get to be around dogs, I definitely recommend observing them as a mindfulness tutor. A couple of other things. So your breath is a built-in mindfulness exercise, just tuning into your breath. Now, you can do breathing exercises like trying to breathe into your belly, breathe slowly, all kinds of different breathing exercises, but you don't actually have to do any kind of particular exercise to be mindful. All you have to do is tune into your breath and just notice. Notice when you breathe in. Notice when you breathe out. You can also just take a moment to tune into what's going on around you. So sometimes when I have a client in my office, that can take the form of just saying to them, listen, what sounds do you hear around you that you didn't notice before? We have a habit of going on kind of autopilot mode as human beings and tuning out a lot of the stimuli that's around us because there just is so much that we could be attending to at any time. Sounds, sights, thoughts, bodily sensations. And so mindfulness can be as simple as just taking a second to tune in and, get out of the thoughts and into the environment and see what's around you, hear what's around you. You can do this at any time, even just riding the bus. Another quick way to be mindful is just to scan your body for any sensations you might not have noticed. You can start from your toes and work your way up, start from your head and work your way down, and just do a quick scan and check in and see what you're feeling. Notice the weight of your butt in the chair. Notice the feeling of your feet on the ground. It can be that simple. But I'm also going to introduce a couple more specific exercises that you can do and walk you all through one in particular. So one big one is just to unplug and spend some time in nature. Honestly, this is probably one of my favorites, is to go for a hike. And Logan, if you're in Logan, is particularly nice for this. And frankly, our whole beautiful state of Utah is particularly nice for this. Get out there and notice, what's going on in the world outside of the classroom, outside of your apartment, your dorm, your house. Another really great favorite exercise of mine is something called progressive muscle relaxation. This is really particularly great for anxiety. It's also really great if you have trouble falling asleep. So I'm actually going to provide a link in the comments down below to one of my favorite progressive muscle relaxation exercises that's right here on YouTube that I often use in session with my clients. I highly recommend you check this out. It is delicious. And I'll also say there are so many different progressive muscle relaxation exercises on YouTube that if you don't like the particular one that I've linked below, find another one. You can find exercises with music, without music, with nature sounds incorporated, without, with men's voices, with women's voices, with different accents, all kinds of interesting exercises out there. I really highly recommend you find one that you like. Another great exercise is called focus exercises. And so you might just choose a particular thing in your environment to zoom in on and focus on. Sometimes people do this with things like the flame on a candle, for example, a particularly beautiful painting, going out in nature and choosing maybe a bird to observe or a tree to observe. It can really be anything. And just slow down and watch and pick out as much detail as you can in whatever it is that you're observing. Another kind of funky, different kind of mindfulness exercise that you can do is to do everyday things using your non-dominant hand. This requires you to focus a lot more than you normally would. So a really easy one to do would be, if you're left-handed, use your right hand to brush your teeth. If you're right-handed, use your left hand. Another thing that you can do is grounding using your 5 senses. So this can take different forms. Some therapists will have clients Name 5 things you can see, name 4 things you can hear, name 2 things you can smell, etc., etc. My personal favorite, though, is instead picking something beautiful to look at, and I particularly like to use paintings for that. For example, if you were in my office right now, I might have you look at these paintings behind me and see how many different colors can you pick out. Pick something particularly complex and nice to look at. I'd also recommend that you play your favorite music, something that can be really helppful if you're in a lot of distress and trying to get yourself grounded, is to tap out the rhythm to a song that you really like, because that takes a little bit more concentration than just singing it or listening to it. So tap the rhythm out, tap it on your legs, tap it on your desk, clap it out, whatever you'd like. When it comes to using your sense of smell to ground yourself, my favorite things are to put on a sweet smelling lotion. And that way I can use my sense of touch as well. Rub it in, focus on the cool feeling on my hands, focus on kind of the soft, silky or slimy kind of feeling, and then smell that lotion. I also like to light incense. I'm Native American, so I might burn medicines like sage or sweetgrass, whatever smells you really like. Maybe you really like cooking. Cook some food that you really like the smell of. Then you can use your sense of taste and eat it. All right, speaking of sense of taste, another thing that you can do to get yourself grounded, one of my favorites is to take a hard candy because it lasts for a while and it has some texture to it. Pop it in your mouth and really focus on the texture, focus on the taste, and try to suck on it rather than bite it, and keep it in your mouth for as long as you can. And finally, with your sense of touch. So one thing that you might do is to massage your own hands, or you might rub your neck. You might get a fuzzy, comfy blanket or sweater and put on and just feel the softness against you. If you have a pet, you might snuggle your pet. If you have a friend nearby that you're comfortable with, you might ask them to give you a really tight squeeze. Anything to kind of focus on that sense of touch. So some of these things you might have noticed are things that you could kind of do anywhere. So I really actually recommend for folks who are going through a particularly tough time, maybe they have some trauma, maybe they're going through a lot of stress, that they put together a little grounding kit that they can take with them everywhere they go. Put in some lotion that you like, put in some hard candies, maybe even some pictures or paintings, and keep them with you at all times. You could even write a list of maybe songs that you could tap out. Okay, moving on. Another really great mindfulness exercise that you can do every day that can really, really make a difference in your day is to begin every day by setting an intention for the day. It doesn't have to be anything complex. Maybe it could be something like, today I'm going to be very productive. I'm going to focus really hard on my homework. Or today I'm going to make sure that I give myself a day off. I'm going to take some time to get some exercise, to get out in nature. Or it might just be, today I'm going to let myself feel whatever I feel. Whatever intention you want to set, whatever feels right for you, write it down in the morning, or, type it out in your notes app on your phone, whatever you want to do. There's kind of a saying that goes around, I don't know where it originally came from because it's kind of circulated in a lot of places, but the saying is, energy flows where intention goes. So just being mindful about what you intend to do with your day. Now, here we're ready for an exercise called Leaves on a Stream. Now, this is an exercise that you'll want to do when you have time to sit and be quiet. So if you're not able to do that right now, I recommend you just pause the video and come on back later. This is an exercise I do a lot with my clients that can help you get a better handle on interacting with your thoughts in a way that allows you to not get so stuck by them. All right, so I'll give you a second to get settled, find a place to sit, relax, and close your eyes. Now, what I'd like you to do is picture that you're going for a hike. And as you're walking along this hiking trail, you come up to a meadow, and you notice in the meadow, off to your left, the trees part, and you see a slow moving little tiny babbling brook, a little stream. And right next to this stream is the perfect place to sit down. For you, maybe that's a stump or a log that's fallen. Maybe it's a little grassy patch, whatever would make you feel the most comfortable. I want you to just imagine having a seat next to this stream. And as you sit down next to this stream, I'd like you to just look around and notice how beautiful, quiet, and relaxing it is. Notice the smells. What are the smells in this particular forest around you? What are the sounds? Notice that the temperature is just perfectly comfortable. Feel the sun on your skin. And now look upstream and notice that just ahead of you upstream, a tree is kind of lazily dropping leaves. And these leaves are falling and landing right on the surface of this stream. And they're floating by, one at a time. So now as you watch these leaves float down this stream, I want you to take a second and tune into the thoughts that come up in your mind. And practice with every single thought that comes up, placing it on a leaf and watching it just lazily float by. A couple of things that you might notice as you're doing this. You might feel really pulled to want to think more about a thought and hang on to it. And your mind may wander down this path of worries about what you need to do today or this thing that's been on your mind lately. That's totally normal. When you catch yourself doing it, just direct yourself back, place that thought on a leaf, and let it float on down the stream. You also might notice that your mind goes blank and you begin to have some feelings of anxiety and stress as you try to navigate this idea of placing leaves on a stream. I just don't have any thoughts. That's okay. Those are also thoughts. The thought that you don't have any thoughts, the thought that you're doing something wrong. Just place that on a leaf and let it float down the stream, just like any other thought that you may have. No thought that you might have come up is wrong. Nothing that you can do is a problem. Just watch what your mind does and continue to redirect back to the exercise of placing the leaf on the stream. We'll take about a minute and a half just to practice. One more minute. Just place those leaves on the stream. "30 seconds left. And now start to tune in and listen to the sounds in the room. See if you can picture it in your mind's eye in as much detail as possible. And come on back to the room. When you're ready, open your eyes. And that's it. So this leaves on a stream exercise can be done anytime that you can close your eyes. You could do it on the bus. Do this as often as you can. This exercise is designed to help you begin to get practice with observing those thoughts that you have, allowing them to come up and allowing them to go without getting stuck on holding on to one or stuck on trying to push any kind of thought away. That is a really key component of mindfulness. And that is the end of today's workshop. Really quickly, I wanted to mention that I have a whole series of workshops that I do for the College of Education and Human Services, and they are posted on the CEHS YouTube channel. There is a playlist called Healthy Minds Workshops, and as you can see on the slide here, we have covered a wide variety of topics. Some of the ones that we've already done this semester include self-care, burnout and compassion fatigue for people in helping professions or people who tend to be the kind of caregivers or the go-to friend in your friend group that people like to turn to. Tools for better sleep, progressive muscle relaxation, and last week I covered something called Your Mind Lies to You, challenging anxious and depressive thinking. This week on Friday, I'll be covering tools for getting through a crisis. The week after, I'll be talking about grief. And on November 19th, I'll be talking about stopping impulsive behaviors. On December 3rd, I'll be talking about abuse in relationships. And if you are a person who's in a relationship that right now is making you feel like you're going crazy, this is the workshop for you. You can explore kind of what's going on, why might you be feeling crazy because of this relationship that you're in, and what can you do about it. On December 10th, I'll be talking about relationship effectiveness, and on the week of the 17th, I'll be talking about the power of positivity, some hacks from positive psychology that contribute to leading a happier life. You can join those broadcasts on Fridays at 3:30. I'm live streaming from the YouTube College of Education and Human Services channel, or you can catch the Healthy Minds live stream playlist. I'll be posting the link to that below. Thank you for hanging in.